Thank you for this invitation. One individual made me aware of this, and I'm so grateful for it. My name is Jay Miller. I'm with the Inland SoCal BankOn Coalition, which is sponsored by the Inland SoCal Housing Collective. And I'm here today representing a significant region of our state, as large and populous as a state like Tennessee, with nearly 5 million people and over 27,000 square miles. This region has a large underserved minority population, but sadly, it has been repeatedly overlooked by commercial, philanthropic, and government entities, including the state. However, the Inland Empire continues to be one of the fastest growing areas in the state and the nation, and is comprised of San Bernardino and Riverside counties. And just a little background for myself, I've spent a number of years in various roles with different types of transaction processing systems, with helping families make financial decisions. And my broken, poor, not very good Spanish still makes a difference with many people. I have them come into my office and sit down at my table. The children, they're tracking with me just fine, but the parents are not smiling. Their arms are crossed. They're very nervous. And when I notice that, I begin to converse with them in their own native language as best as I can. And I notice them relax and breathe and open up and begin to laugh. And we actually have a conversation then about what it is they want for their families and what it is that they want for their future, for themselves. And one little tidbit that I learned is that while all of the words in English in all of our nice brochures that we present and all of our presentations do not translate very well. In fact, some words that look like they translate are completely different. The numbers do translate. You don't need any translation for the numbers. And most of the numbers look big and scary to people. And that's why they stop talking to banks or talking to anybody about their finances and just go to find somebody that will help them. So my reason for being here is to address the CalAccount proposal that has grown out of an ongoing frustration with the speed of change in our state's financial industry, an industry that has only a few decades before was called out for discriminatory practices focused on maintaining separation between races and social classes within our communities. Fortunately, for several decades, California has been a leader in national efforts to bring about change that have improved the financial choices for a large segment of our population who have been using alternative financial services with very high fees for cashing checks and making payday loans. The BankOn initiative, which I am working with, was started right here in our state in San Francisco in 2006, and then moved across the state in 2008, and finally spread to the rest of the nation shortly afterward. It's very similar to the CalAccount. The CalAccount does have some improvements on it. And as with any new effort, there have been challenges. But the momentum is building in recent years, and improved data collection is available now. And now California has another opportunity to continue to establish a new way to make a difference in our communities, the proposed CalAccount. But despite the success that we've seen with the BankOn accounts, there's still only about 10 to 20% of the need being met after many years. And a lot of effort on many people's parts, from nonprofits, from cities and counties, from bank organizations. And unfortunately, in August 2021, there's a report from the State Department of Financial Protection and Innovation that shows that none of the 10 BankOn programs sponsored by our state had been focused on the Inland Empire, one of our largest regions. And despite this oversight, our two-county region has been working with the national BankOn organization and brought me in late last year to ramp up our efforts to better meet the financial needs of nearly 1 million people still using high-cost alternative banking services. Currently, data from 2022 is showing that 209,306 accounts are active as of the end of that year, and they were opened, and it's nearly 15% of the state's total BankOn accounts. And these are very similar, not quite as good, but very similar to the CalAccounts that are being proposed. In our region, we have over 400 banks and credit unions, branches all around the area giving access to these types of accounts, but there's still challenges. One of the largest challenges for attracting individuals using alternative financial services is that they find the personal contact in these offices very important to them. And this is something that they are much less likely to find at any credit union or bank or any organization. That personal contact is so important to them. And customers cite friendly, relatable personnel and the nearby small, welcoming locations as reasons that they continue to frequent these high-cost alternatives. And they're close to their homes. And they lack access to better services close to them. They lack the language access. And so it's caused these high-fee services to come in and fill the vacuum that has been left in certain regions, in certain neighborhoods and pockets. And probably the biggest concern, however, is how to overcome the challenges that our minority community faces when trying to access these low-cost bank accounts, as shown in the Roosevelt Institute report. Another BankOn region in Denver, one of the oldest in the nation, shared some of their approaches and their history in helping people switch from high-fee services to low-cost, more traditional bank accounts. And one of the ways is at the point of need, at the point of service, whether it's foster youth coming out of a foster, aging out of the foster system, or justice involved, just being released from a justice system. We have someone from a nonprofit organization making a connection with them. And he said it's really simple. Just write down the name of the account, the name of the person, the name of the location for the branch, and make an appointment for them, and then send them with that piece of paper to that location. And banks and credit unions freely admit that they have high turnover with their frontline personnel, and it's very challenging for them to get them trained in all of the different ins and outs of all these different types of accounts, including the low-fee accounts. So as a result, they suggest that clients do make an appointment rather than walking in as was used in the study. And I'll just wrap up here. Our inland SoCal BankOn region is developing other tools to help. We'll have an interactive map. We have a matrix showing all the different accounts that are available, and I'm sure we'll be adding the CalAccount to that list of accounts. And the collection of data now shows progress. And you can see this at the website joinbankon.org/Bond Hub data. It's available to the public. You can see data of people accessing low-fee accounts. And in conclusion, I applaud the state for continuing efforts to improve banking access for all of our vulnerable populations around the state. And I want to be sure that our region, inland SoCal, in San Bernardino and Riverside counties, are not overlooked and have access to a fee-free, penalty-free account like the CalAccount. It would really help our people in the Inland Empire as well as all over the state. So thank you.
My name is Toya Vick, and I am a participatory defense organizer, criminal and housing justice advocate, a Solis Policy Institute fellow, and just a woman of many hats. We aim to eradicate poverty and incarceration, and in their place, create communities of care that support self-determination and keeps families together and safe. I am here to be the voice of the voiceless, the arms and the legs of our seniors and disabled, and a heart for the children, representing the underserved communities of formerly incarcerated individuals and those I just mentioned before, as well as our low-income families. Having access to bank accounts plays a significant role in supporting the successful integration of formerly incarcerated individuals into society by facilitating financial stability and access to essential services and resources. Formerly incarcerated individuals often lack the type of identification transitional banks require when opening a banking account or establishing a line of credit, such as a secured credit card, Since banks do not accept federal prison IDs as valid identification, formerly incarcerated individuals are entirely shut out of the financial services at a time when they need it the most. When our community members are able to open bank accounts, they are hit with account maintenance fees, overdraft, and other junk fees that takes more and more of their hard-earned money and government benefits. These fees can sometimes double or increase. The longer their account is negative, the lending to members having them to close their accounts, miss important payments of their payments, and further, I'm sorry, getting blurry, need my glasses. And it interrupts their lives, destabilize their lives. In some communities in the Inland Empire, access to banks and in-network ATMs are limited, leading our community members, many of who are seniors and disabled, to have to travel over 10 to 20 miles just to access an ATM. They have limited access to public transportation, nor is there proper lighting for safety and stability just to access basic financial services. Their choices are to go to outside network ATMs, and those fees can range from anywhere from $3.50 to $8 per transaction. So having a free debt account such as CalAccount would support the underserved communities of formerly incarcerated individuals, seniors, disabled, and our low-income families by reestablishing trust within the community members and banking with banks, bringing empowerment to those who are seeking checking accounts, bank accounts, saving accounts, and becoming homeowners, and as we all have heard earlier, building lines of credit, opening college accounts for their children, and building financial wealth. Supporting customers to have access to automatic online banking, which also can provide convenient, accessible, and safe locations to their finances. So thank you for your time. Greatly appreciate it.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? My name is Eunbi, and louder. Okay, great. The podium is, I hope you can see me as well. My name is Eunbi Kim, and I was born here in LA, and coming back in 10 years. I also work down the street at a community bank that's headquartered here. Most of our clients, customers that we serve are from immigrant communities, from our folks of color, people of color. And whenever I'm in a room like this, I think about with all due respect to you lovely people, I think about the people who aren't in the room, who weren't able to make this meeting. Those are the folks who are probably working really hard right now to make ends meet. Those are probably the folks who are underbanked or unbanked, right? I wanted to provide some perspective on, from like a banker's perspective as well, because I'm an analyst and my job is to look over transactions every day to detect fraudulent activity or tax evasion, and that's a big concern from an institutional standpoint. But actually, the reality is that most of the activity that we do see aren't from people who are trying to build wealth, who are trying to make ends meet. A lot of the customers that we do see who have a very different reality than the folks who are working really hard. Like I said, I'm coming back to LA in 10 years, and it's become really different. It's become kind of heartbreaking for me to see, a lot of houseless people, a lot of people who are really working hard just to have a roof over their head, just to provide meals for their families. And those folks are the ones who need to be banked. I also see a lot of barriers from a traditional banking perspective, and would love to see folks who are in my community that overlaps. I have a lot of overlap in my communities who don't trust banks enough to put their money to, save money with banks. And I hope that, a platform like CalAccount and public banking will remedy that situation where people are able to trust banks again to, help protect their wealth and build generational wealth for futures, for children to come. Thank you for this time, and thank you for letting me speak.
Hi, I'm Andy Winnick, professionally economist, taught at Cal State LA for many years, et cetera, et cetera. I want to make a comment on a few things. One, if people do not have a bank account, they have a problem. We've discovered that over and over and over again. They have to be paid in cash, or they have to get a check and pay 8, 10, 12, 15% of their money into the account. Then they get a cash for it. But that's a safety measure. That can be stolen. That is a serious limitation. There's a time dimension to not having a bank account. You may get paid on a daily basis, a weekly basis, whatever, but you have things like rent that are on a monthly basis. You have to save the money. So where do you keep the money that's safe, that's not going to get stolen? It's a serious issue. Underbanking, as has been mentioned, affects more than 8 million people, which is about 20% of the population of California. Resident, non-resident, doesn't matter in terms of document status. If you're underbanked, it means you're basically paying major fees to do anything you need to do with the banking system. You have a problem in general with a separate issue, obviously, of discrimination. We have all sorts of statistical studies which have shown that the negative banking impacts totally unproportionately affect Black, Hispanic, immigrants, and also single mothers. Are also another group that are seriously discriminated against within the banking system. CalAccounts would cover all of these people and provide a guaranteed banking system. There's another problem which hasn't been mentioned, which is wealth accumulation. If without the major form of wealth accumulation in the United States is owning a home. That's how most families create wealth. Today, even the middle class, the children of the middle class, Gen Z, cannot afford the down payments to get a house. So what the middle class is doing is borrowing money on their houses to lend to the kids for the down payment to get them into their first home. Without that ability to do that sort of process, the kids will never own a house, even if the parents do. So there's a whole problem there. The wealth accumulation is essential over generations to guarantee an adequate standard of living. There's a safety issue, which I just want to emphasize one more time. What we found during the recession and what have you, and during the COVID and all the rest of it, is you want to send welfare checks or PPP checks for the people who are getting salary replacements or other checks to people. The middle class, most white pay people, get it deposited directly into their account. The money's available. They can take it out if and when they need it. They can, borrow against it. It's there. We try to get checks to other people who don't have the bank accounts. They had no way of cashing it. So they end up losing right off the top of whatever payment they're getting, salary, welfare, Social Security. They lose 10, 12, 14% of their money before they even see it. Totally unfair. And then, as I said, when they get the money, they're stuck with how do you keep it safe? And that's a serious problem. We've got over 50,000 people in the LA area who are unhoused. They are really vulnerable to basically safety issues in terms of any money they happen to have. If they had to put money in a bank account, if they had a debit card, with code numbers and all the usual stuff, then they could be safe and we could get money to them when we needed to, and they could get their own earnings safely and use it. So CalAccount is absolutely essential. We basically do not have a functioning society with all of our people when we have 30%, 20%, over 30% of the minority communities without banking. This is not a just society, and we need to correct that.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Mysheka, and I'm here today in support of CalAccount because basically this is not only just essential to California, it's essential to everyone across the United States. Everyone is struggling. Not everyone is able to have a bank account or have like a proper credit score in order to maintain a bank account. And so with CalAccount, it will basically be there for everyone so that we all have an opportunity to win and to take care of our families and for our children. And just like she said, just like for generations to come, like we're making like a lot of big changes in California, but we're going to continue and we're going to make more changes. And this CalAccount is one way that we can help excite change. And we can show other states, hey, we're starting here, but you guys can do it too. Because this is something that's not only needed in California, but this is something that we need all over the United States. And this is something that other people need in other countries and things like that. But if we can be the model for that, let's be the model. And, it's just like, but we have to start somewhere. So let's start here in our own space, with our own families, within our own communities. Let's start. And as soon as you start, other people take notice and they pay attention and they're just like, well, why don't we have that there? And they're just like, well, wait a minute. No, we need that too. Let's adapt that change. So it's like here in California, we're putting like a small footprint down, but it's going to be a big one to impact everybody else. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Hi, and my name is Emily, and I support CalAccount program because I am a refugee. I came to this country as a student and had no social security card at the time, which meant I couldn't obtain a checking account. Every time my mother sent me money, she was charged fees, sending through Western Union or MoneyGram. That's what usually immigrants use. And to pick up the money, I also had, depending on exchange rate, it would change. And, or even when I had to cash a check, also that was expensive with the fees. So for students, every transaction of it, I'm not talking about monthly charge. I'm talking about every transaction. It's like over $20 being charged. Imagine that. How much money is that for a student, right? And so CalAccount would have helped my mother, who was a nurse, who worked long nights to earn every penny to pay for my education instead of corporate banks who were stealing high interest rates from her. Thank you for helping change the future for many students for generations to come. Please support CalAccount for hardworking Californians. I do believe it will boost economy in California because people will have more freedom to bank and spend more money, right? Who doesn't love that? Thank you so much.